Thank you very much for making a date with me today on the Marketplace. Welcome back. The Vice President, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, has charged the corporation to find innovative means to protect depositors' funds. Dr. Bawumia made the call when opening the African Regional Assistance Committee workshop in Accra. This is a report by Ebenezer Sabuti.
The Ghana Deposit Protection Scheme is established to reimburse insured depositors where the Bank of Ghana revokes the licenses of a bank or specialized deposit-taking institution. The scheme, which began operation, has been hailed as the perfect response to the cry of depositors. Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, in a keynote speech at the workshop and unveiling ceremony for the scheme, tasked the corporation to make Ghana's banking sector attractive.
Operating in a largely reformed financial sector, the corporation needs to ensure the necessary public education about the scheme, its operations, and benefits to every depositor. Such an education is an invaluable public good, and we must get on with it as soon as possible. The general public must gain the confidence that even in the event of a failure of a financial institution, the funds of depositors are secure, at least to a certain limit. This new deposit insurance scheme, in addition to the sound prudential regulation by the Bank of Ghana, should ensure that the Ghanaian financial sector is set on a good path to financial stability.
On his part, Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Ernest Addison, expressed confidence that the establishment of the corporation provides the country with an opportunity to showcase the readiness to strengthen the financial sector.
The establishment of GDPC therefore comes as a big relief and a welcome addition to Ghana's financial safety net apparatus, as it puts the nation in a state of readiness to better manage the failure of banks and deposit-taking financial institutions. Indeed, the importance of the deposit protection to stability cannot be overemphasized, and this is clearly illustrated by the theme of this workshop: deposit protection, a catalyst for financial stability.
The corporation is the sole mandatory body for the Deposit Protection Scheme. Ibn Sabuti's report for Joy Business.
Also, the Ghana Deposit Protection Corporation has been launched to help deal with such issues, and in-house researcher Philip Namfuri joins me for some more education on the Depositors Protection Scheme. What exactly is it, and what has it got to do?
Okay, Emmanuel, thank you very much. So the Deposit Protection Scheme is mainly financial insurance to protect depositors by insuring their deposits in the case of a bank or a specialized deposit-taking institution failure, like we had very recently. So when your bank collapses, this scheme steps in to protect you. What we saw with the financial crisis was the government stepping in to more or less save depositors. Now we have a scheme in place that's going to save us. So that's essentially what the scheme is.
And what? So the scheme is the Ghana Depositors Protection.
Okay, so there's an act, Ghana Deposit Protection Act 931 as amended. Then under the act, there's a scheme, there's a fund, and then there's a Ghana Deposit Corporation. So that's a GDPC. So the Ghana Deposit Protection Corporation manages the Ghana Deposit Protection Scheme. So the scheme comes under the corporation. The corporation is supposed to ensure that it's run on a daily, is run like an institution, let me say, or like a corporate body with a board, CEO, staff, etc.
So where will all these monies, to save depositors come from? Okay,
so we are learning that government of Ghana and through the Ministry of Finance and Bank of Ghana have given some seed money. But as time goes on, this will be the premiums will be taken from the banks. So the banks and the specialized depositing institutions are supposed to make payments to the Deposit Protection Corporation, which will be gathered and then invested in securities with less risky securities over the course of time. Yeah.
So that's basically so in effect, our consumers and other SDIs, will be liable to pay for this scheme.
Very, very good question. That's the key part of all this. Customers, consumers of banks and specialized depositing institutions should not suffer charges imposed on them. They've had broad consultations over the course of the preparation for this. And if you go through some of their documents, it's been stated in there categorically that customers are not supposed to pay for anything. So the banks and the SDIs are handling these premium payments. It should no way affect your charges or your fees when you go to your bank or your savings and loan institution to transact.
So how much are we talking about here, and what sort of insurance will be available?
Okay, so for a bank, your uninsured deposit or uninsured depositor is liable or can get 6,250 Ghana cedis in the event of a bank failure.
Okay.
And an SDI, a specialized deposit taking institution, you can get 1,250. So for a bank, you're getting 6,250, and then for an SDI, you're getting 1,250. Now, there are some scenarios in which it works. So let me explain one to you. Let's assume your account has 10,000 Ghana cedis, and your bank collapses. Out of that 10,000 Ghana cedis, the Ghana Deposit Protection Corporation is going to give you 6,250. That's the maximum they can go for the insured deposits. Then your 3,750, the rest of it, they will issue you a certificate, and then you go to your receiver. And after the liquidation process is done and then they realize the assets, then what is left of your funds will be given to you. So if I have 5,000 Ghana cedis in my account and it's less than the cap of 6,250, I get all my 5,000. Once I cross that threshold of 6,250, and like I said, if you have 10,000, they'll give you your 6,250, then your 3,750, you go through the process as we are seeing now, where you go to the receiver, validation. But then with this one, the Protection Corporation will give you a certificate, which you will use to show that I have taken my insured deposit of this amount. The rest of it, I'm coming for it from the receiver.
So to a large extent, it secures, your deposits.
Yes, it does.
So that you don't end up losing a significant aspect.
It does,
which is very good.
Very, very good. And then the key point we should note here: some were complaining about the low amount, but if you read the arguments, are that it's supposed to ensure that there's no moral hazard, in the sense that a bank can wake up, function poorly, and collapse, knowing that depositors are safe. So it's supposed to act as a safeguard to moral hazard. But over a period of time, not more than 3 years after the commencement of it, they can review the amounts on it, which obviously will come with reviews in the premiums allocated.
So what about foreign currency holders?
Okay, so foreign currency holdings are also protected, or foreign currency deposits are also protected. However, the reimbursements will be done in Ghana cedis. So that's the only caveat there. They are also covered, they're the same amounts, but they'll give it to you in Ghana cedis instead of the foreign currency. Some may say
and what's the condition? Is it only when your bank collapses or you go into crisis? I mean, what kind of
Once
conditions?
the Bank of Ghana steps in and revokes the license of a bank or an STI and says, we've revoked the license, this bank is done, it's collapsed, then the Deposit Protection Corporation will step in. It has some stipulated timelines within which it has to respond to the depositors or the customers of these affected institutions. That's if it happens again. So that's
an obvious breakthrough in the financial sector.
Yes, supposed to bring some confidence and trust into the system again.
To depositors. And that's my colleague, Philip Namfuri, bringing us up to speed with Ghana Deposit Protection Corporation. All right. Very, very interesting comments here.